Everybody's there with one common goal, and so I think it's just a beautiful game. How people have to come together and work and sacrifice. We put on the helmet. You don't necessarily see the face. We don't have names on the back of the jerseys. We're just representing the team that we're playing for. And so.
Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lunner, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. We're a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. We're on number 23. I'm with co-host Jimmy Lackey. He's the CEO, man, and does it all here at Kids Inc. I'm Lance Lunner. Jimmy, how goes it today? Can you believe it's 23?
It's fun. And I'm excited to have Coach Mims today.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited for this. This is a big one for us.
I wore my Palo Duro blue.
All right. Thank you very much.
I just put on a shirt today. I'm sorry.
Hey, you wore a tie once, so.
Hey, I did make that mistake once, Eric. I wore Palo Duro blue when I was covering sports, for the Globe News at an Emerald High Palo Duro game. Emerald High coaches were like, "What's up, man?" I said, "It's just a shirt." Yeah, that's okay. But
go Dons.
Yeah.
This is for my buddy Marlon Sims.
Anyway, I like it. Oh yeah, Marlon's great. Yeah. Hey, let me introduce Eric. Everybody knows him anyway. He really doesn't need an introduction, but grew up here in Amarillo. Played Kids Inc. ball. Played his high school ball at Palo Duro. Good enough to play at the college level at Eastern New Mexico. He was an assistant coach at Palo Duro. Then you spent like 9 years in the Metroplex. Mm-hmm. Those last 3 with Duncanville, though, state coaching in Jerry's world and all that. Pretty cool with that. 4 years ago, he got the call, or they for sure called him, and took the Palo Duro job as the head football coach and athletic coordinator, and has done an amazing job. Today sits here, his team's on a roll, 3-1, the official city champs, having beat Tascosa, Caprock, and Amarillo High already this year. That's the first time since 2002 the Dons have been able to accomplish that. So just a great guy, does a lot in the community as well. So let's welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast officially Eric Mims. Eric, what's the best thing that happened to you today?
Best thing happened to me today. God allowed me to wake up and see another day and have full activity of my limbs. And so that's the best thing, that I get to be here again.
I love it.
Sounds just like his mom. Sounds just
great
like
lady.
his mom.
Great lady.
Yeah, great lady. All right, this is number 23. We have a tradition here now, Eric. In whatever number podcasts, we ask that our guests or Jimmy as well, who's your favorite 23 of all time?
Well, I grew up in the 90s, so without a doubt, the most memorable, the most iconic, the best to ever wear 23 is the man, the myth, the legend, the all-time great, Michael Jordan.
Really? Yeah. Did you have Jordans growing up?
From time to time, my parents weren't necessarily big on spending that type of money on shoes.
On shoes,
so, it just depended. I buy them now for myself and for my sons, but what wasn't necessarily always in the budget to have.
Yeah,
the
no,
Jordans.
I agree. I mean, they were up there. When they first came out, they weren't so much like. I mean, but that iconic first shoe was
I mean, when you got football teams that have that on their jerseys this day, that tells you.
Yeah.
He's the logo.
Yeah,
he's the new logo.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite 23 of all time?
Have to be Jordan. I mean, it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched. We have a poster of him up in our office up there that talks about, when he was in high school, he got cut from his high school team.
Now, he got cut from the varsity.
Yeah.
Sophomore.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, as a sophomore. So.
I mean, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. He felt. Yeah.
My point being, don't give up. If that's what you want to pursue,
I like that. I like that a lot.
Keep
Jimmy.
going.
Yeah, and then grow to 6'6" or 6'8". Don't you think? If you're going to be in the area.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, tell us about, if you don't mind, tell us about, I'm going to open it up if it's okay, Jimmy.
No,
tell us about,
go.
Playing, what are your Kids Inc. memories?
I have a picture. I played at Carver. When I went to Carver, they had reopened it as a Carver Academy, and I played running back, and I was like number 66. I look at that picture and go, how in the world did I play running back in a 60s number? I guess that stuff wasn't as important back then. They didn't give me one of those cool single digits, but Kids Inc. was very memorable for me. My childhood best friend, Derek Lackey, and myself played on the same team for Carver, and we had a great time. And so those are my most fond memories, waking up on Saturday mornings and going out and playing on grass and playing at the different schools, great times.
Who were some of your coaches back then, Coach?
My coaches, Coach Dickens.
Elmer?
Elmer Dickens was one of my coaches, and Coach Lonzo.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. So
Okay,
those were my guys back in the day for Carver.
Yeah,
I love those
I love Elmer Dickens.
That's my guy.
He's gold.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a great guy. I like that guy too. So, obviously, grew up. Your mom, Joyce. We use the word a little too often. I think some legendary, but she is definitely a legendary track coach at Palo Duro. Just a legendary person in that community. You could go on and on about your mom. Is she the one who inspired you to become a coach, or did that just happen, Eric, or is that always in the back of your mind?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I didn't want to be a coach.
Okay.
I didn't want to teach. I watched my mom grade English papers. My mom was an English teacher, and so every Sunday nights she'd be up grading papers, and I'm going, I would never do that. Why would you spend your weekend grading some kid's English paper, and they only make pennies on the dollars? And I'm going, no way would I ever do that. So I went to college at Eastern New Mexico. They have a great broadcast journalism school. I wanted to be the next Stuart Scott.
Okay.
I loved ESPN and Sports Center growing up, and he always had the best punchlines, and he always
Other
had
side of the pillow.
Man, always something. It was something catchy every night with every highlight. Vince Carter does a dunk, and here comes Stuart Scott with something great to say about the dunk. So, he always just enhanced what you saw with his words. And so I wanted to be the next Stuart Scott. And my dad was always my role model. And I started thinking, man, these guys work late nights. I want to see my kids to bed every night and want to wake them up every morning. And so I changed my major a couple times. One day I was sitting in class and I walked out of class and I called my mom and said, hey, Mom, guess what? She said, what? She said, I'm going to teach and coach. And she said, son, I told you that when you went to college. And so she had already prophesied it to me that I was going to end up being a teacher and a coach, and I ran from it for the first year and a half of college and changed my degree plan multiple times, but ended up landing right where she said I would, following in her footsteps, becoming an educator. And it's funny because my four siblings, Ernie, Erica, and Ebony, we all teach and we all coach. My sisters have since stepped out of coaching and just teach, but my brother and I are both head coaches. He's head basketball coach, and I'm head football coach. So we all follow the mom's footsteps.
Wow, that's a great story.
Outstanding. I knew Coach Mims from a long time ago because I was here when he was playing Kids Inc. That's how old I am. But my wife had an opportunity to work with him for a year when they opened Days of Alla Middle School. Beverly Williams was the principal over at the Woodlands, and she served as principal at Days of Alla that first year. And Kim was the assistant principal, but she was in the building all day long there. And so that was Coach Mims' first job. And I told her last night that we were coming in to do this day. She goes, he's one of the most humble people I know. You tell him hello. So she loved working with you and remembers those days very fondly. So. Yeah, I got to see him in his very first
awesome.
job.
I love that.
Very first job.
Yeah. Was it football all the way that you wanted to concentrate your coaching skills in?
Yes, that's what I ended up playing college ball, and I knew that I wanted to be the next head coach. I wanted to be the next head coach after Steve Parr. That was my ultimate goal. Didn't happen that way, but yeah, that was my concentration. I always loved track as well, like Mom. But I knew I wanted to be a head football coach. That game always drew my attention and always had my focus. I tell people that football is a game where everybody is needed. Basketball and baseball, you have almost similar bodies and similar mindsets. Football, you need guys that can specialize. You know, basketball, everybody can shoot the ball. In football, everybody doesn't get to touch it. Somebody
Yeah.
has to be able to throw it. Somebody has to be able to catch it. Somebody has to be able to kick it. And so you need multiple coaches doing multiple jobs. And there's just so many facets to the game that you've got to coordinate and put together to be good. And other sports, I love other sports, but they just don't have the degree of difficulty that managing a football team has.
Yeah, and there's something about that bonds those teams,
Mhm.
Eric. Don't you agree? I mean, maybe it's the physicality where you guys are actually literally bleeding for each other, at times, crying, laughing, everything. You see it all. The chaos of a football game seems to bond teams closer than other sports.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know why, but it does.
you take people from all different types of backgrounds.
Yeah.
You take people from all different body types, and you take people and you bring them together with a common goal. And like you said, it's a barbaric sport, blood and tears and battle, and everybody's there with one common goal. And so, yeah, I think it's just a beautiful game. How people have to come together and work and sacrifice. We put on the helmet. You don't necessarily see the face. We don't have names on the back of the jerseys. We're just representing the team that we're playing for. And so I think it's beautiful, the sacrifice that the people have to make to play the game, the amount of work that you put in to play 10 games. And
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
I'm seeing this. I've watched it since you come back because my dad always told me don't ever go back and coach where you came from. My dad was coach, and so that was something I think he was worried about me getting into and someday trying to migrate back to home, and that wasn't my path. But when they hired you, I thought this is the right hire, and I'm going to tell you why I think that, and I'm telling you what's coming to fruition right now that I see. And take this with a grain of salt because my opinion doesn't matter much. Rest in peace, Coach James.
Yes.
What a dynasty he had back in those days.
Yeah.
And
Doug James.
just relentless year in and year out, but he had a program in place. They had a program in place at Palo Duro High School. And I'm seeing that rebuild of this again. I'm going to step out and say this. You got a really good sophomore and junior class that's going to keep you in that line for a while. And if that continues to grow below, I see a little bit of the reincarnation of Coach James's program coming back to life at Palo Duro High School. And I'm excited for you because it's been a while. And, you want all these schools in town to do well. And Palo Duro's had a little slump, and I'm seeing a little something different out there. And
Coach
I
Parr
think
as
it's
well.
I think it's the culture that you've brought back out there for him.
Yeah, I think Coach Parr also inspired
Yep,
some of that.
absolutely.
Let's ask Eric. Let's get real here, though. You talked. You wanted to follow Coach Parr, and that job went to Chris Fisher. And was your faith tested in that, or you're like, I thought this is my destiny? You know what I mean? To be the PD coach, and so you went and made a name for yourself in the Metroplex. But did that test you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was disappointed, as you know, anyone is naturally when you don't get a job that you think you're qualified for and that you really wanted. But it all worked out in the end. At that time, I had been at Dallas Skyline for 3 years, and we were in our first year at Duncanville. Coach Samples, the legendary Coach Samples, now has 2 state championship rings. He brought me with him from Dallas Skyline over to Duncanville, and we were in our first year at Duncanville, and we were 2-8, and people thought we were crazy for taking the Duncanville job because we had gone 14-1 at Skyline our last year, lost to Kyler Murray at SMU, and took the Duncanville job. And at that time, our first year when we got there, DeSoto won its first state championship, and Cedar Hill had just won back-to-back state championships, and we were all in the same district. And they said, y'all are crazy going into that district and thinking you can build Duncanville into a powerhouse, and there's DeSoto and Cedar Hill already there. And so we took the job, went 2-8 the first year, and our second year we were 11-3. Our third year we were 12-1, and that's when I got the offensive coordinator job after our second year there. And we went to the state championship back-to-back years, and then in the third year, my last year there, we went to the semifinals. So it all ended up working out that I got those type of experiences. If I got the job the first time, I wouldn't have those experiences. I would have never met my offensive coordinator, who ended up coming to Palo Duro with me. So not getting the job the first time allowed me to play in 2 state championships and to have some memories that will last a lifetime and coach some guys that are destined to play in the NFL and coach with some guys who are amazing men and learned a lot from. So it all worked out, being patient, being frustrated, being disappointed, being upset, but nevertheless the end goal and the end destiny all played itself out just the way God wrote the story.
I love that. I love that. Now, when the Palo Duro job did open, did you jump at it, or what? As I understand it, the AISD reached out to you.
I was reluctant for a while. I mean, I was still in my feelings and I was a little butthurt, but at the end of the day, after some prayer and consideration, I knew that it was time and it was a good spot, and it was my ultimate dream job. This is what I always wanted to do since I got into coaching, was be the head coach at Palo Duro High School, and so we jumped in it with 2 feet and didn't go the way we planned for a couple of years, but we're building and building and building and building and trying to like Mr. Lackey said, trying to make it legendary and build it back to what it was in the 80s and what it was in the early 2000s with those 2 great coaches, Coach James and Coach Parr.
Yeah, it helps when you have a Willie T and a Michael Westmoreland and guys like that, to coach those guys, if you remember those legendary guys. But
Michael Westmoreland is like one of my all-time favorite Dons. I remember
I love that
Mama
guy, too.
always took us to the games, and I was number 3, Michael Westmoreland down. That's when the kids used to play football over by the restrooms, and they had Saturday games. Like, will anybody play the Dons on a Saturday? I want a Saturday homecoming game at 1 o'clock at Dick Bivens. Nobody will play on Saturdays anymore. I love those Saturday games. Those were the greatest things ever, man.
Yeah, kids playing, everything on the hill, doing it all, but the game itself, Michael Westmoreland, one of my all-time fave. Yeah. I remember one time, Eric, they're playing, I don't want to call out Hereford, but that's who the game was against. He comes up on the linebacker, does that little spin move he does, and the guy just dropped, okay? Didn't even touch him, and just ran by him, but he was fun to watch. So as I got to ask you, when you arrived at Palo Duro, are you like, oh my gosh, we got a lot more work than I thought to do? No disrespect to PD at that time, but or did you pretty much know, hey, this is what we need to get done, or was it so different when you left?
It was a lot different from when I left. I almost gone a full 10 years. So I left in 2012 and came back in 21. And so the landscape looked totally different. And we had just turned around Duncanville. So, I'm in the mindset that if Coach Samples came in 2 years, he flips that thing around, then we can definitely go in, because I was with the Godfather and we've got the same blueprint and we're going to go in and do the same thing. And, we started out 4-0 that first year, and everything was a buzz, and wow, look at what they're doing. And we've since struggled. That was very humbling, because I thought we could get it flipped fast. And heck, we still hadn't played a district ball game this year.
Yeah, no, you're
so
right. You're right.
We're excited about where we are. We're excited about what we've done
already
in the
this
city.
Year. Yeah.
But
wow.
we've got to go win some district games, and we've got a really tough district. But I think our kids are focused. They're prepared. I've got a great coaching staff.
Yeah.
I
was going to ask you about your coordinators, man.
We got an amazing coaching staff, and they've got the kids ready to play week in, week out. And so I think we'll be fine going in, but it's still real early. Winning these games doesn't guarantee us anything. So we've got to go out and play well the next 6.
It's a massive travel district, too. It's bizarre. It's Wichita Falls. It's Abilene. Mm-hmm. It's I admire for what you guys handle that part of it. I got to ask you, though, there's one Don that wakes up in your house. How cool is it coaching your son?
So I get the opportunity to coach Eric Mims Jr. and it's really cool because when I was at Duncanville, I had the opportunity to coach my son. He played in the state championship with us, my son Carrion. So getting to coach at Duncanville as the offensive coordinator and had my son, and now getting to coach my son Eric Jr. at Palo Duro, it's really cool.
Is it different?
Is
it different for you or?
It is.
Yeah.
You know, that's my son, and so I always do my best never to be in dad mode. I probably ride him a little harder than other kids just because it is my son. You never want kids to say, "Oh, he's only doing that because that's his son." You know, that's always easy for kids or other coaches or people to just say in general, or he's just showing favoritism to his son or so on and so forth. But no, Eric works hard. He blends in with the kids. He's a part of the team. I love having the opportunity to spend that time with him. It's going to be, you know, one day when he's 42 like I am and I'm 65, 70, sit and talk about football practice. You know, I try to let him be a normal member of the team. I don't go behind the kids' back and say, what are the kids saying? They say, just let him be a kid. Let him be a part of the team. Let him enjoy his experience and don't put extra pressure on him. Don't make it weird for him. Let him play football. The coaches do the same. They get on his butt just like they get on anybody else's butt, and they know that that's what I expect. Don't take it easy on him. Get on him, ride him, make him into the best version of himself that he can be. But I love it. I love it. He had his first catch this past week versus Amarillo High, and he had a holding that called back a touchdown. I didn't really think it was a holding.
Okay.
It wasn't a great call. There's some human error there, but he got the
that
play.
That was very diplomatic. I love that. Eric's learned to do that with those refs.
He got the play, and so I'm excited for that opportunity for him, and he loves the game, and just hope that it just continues to grow in his role and continues to grow as a player, and we'll see what happens next for him.
We're both coaches' kids.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. So we're on the other end of that, and it is the memory of a lifetime.
You just brought up a great point. I want to expand on this for a minute. Officials and the relationship with coaches in this day and time. I'm on a soapbox right now with our folks is you got to back off.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday high school ball today because we don't have enough officials. That's plain and simple why that all started back when it started. And talk to me about relationships that you have with the officials because I know what they do on the field, and I know coaches, especially at the high school level. There's a mutual respect out there. But talk to our audience a little bit about that relationship with officials and how critical it is, in my opinion. And if you disagree, please tell me that we let them do their jobs. There's going to be times we're going to disagree with them, but we got to let them do their jobs because there's just not enough of them. Expand on that.
Yeah,
they make mistakes. I make coaching mistakes.
Yeah.
I call the wrong calls. We make the wrong decisions as coaches. And again, like I said, it's human error. I've been on our kids and our coaches a lot this year about staying off of the officials, let them do their job. You know, they're humans just like we're humans. We're a big Christian family, and so after games, my mom's always asking me, "What were you saying to those officials? It didn't look nice. You better not be being mean or disrespecting those officials." And so I really made it a point to be as pleasant as I can with my conversations
in the heat of the moment
with the referees. And we have disagreements. Sometimes we don't feel like a call is right or that a call went our way. But at the end of the day, they're doing their job with integrity. They're doing their job to the best of their ability. And we don't go into different business places and evaluate how that business is running their business and the decisions that they're making on a daily basis. So we have done our best to support the referees and to back off of them, give them a break, let them do that job. Because like you said, there's such a decline in the number of officials that we have throughout the state that without those men and women doing their job, we can't play our game. And so I make sure before every game, I appreciate them for the service that they provide to the game and for the service that they provide to the youth of America, because our kids can't play the game. It's just a scrimmage if we don't have referees. And so those men and women are important to the game, regardless of what we think of their calls. They're out there doing the best that they can, and they're being unbiased, and they're serving us as coaches. And so we don't need to take advantage.
So where were you and Lowe, Todd, age-wise? Was Lowe a
Lowe-
little ahead of you?
Lowe is older than me. When I coached for Coach Parr, he was calling some of our games as back judges. So
Okay.
I did have, Lowe, that's a bad call. We never get any pass interferences, Lowe. And
Yeah.
so,
Lowe Van Pham, for
Yeah.
those of you that don't know, is an Amarillo native and Palo Duro graduate and a really, really good friend and an NFL official now, number
Yeah.
99. And
Yeah.
I look every week to see where he's going to be because I'll text him ahead of time. Last year when he went to Lambeau, I said, please put some dirt in your pocket. I want some dirt from the field. But, great guy.
Yeah,
and,
he is.
So,
Palo Duro Don, too, at heart, man.
shout out to Lowe. And
Yeah.
I figured he was a little older than you.
Yes,
but,
sir.
Yeah, great guy.
I love that. I will say this: Coach Parr is famous for his hat flip. You know what I mean? It
Yes,
could go. I don't know. It was better than a frisbee, man. He would aim it at so and so. But Jimmy, we'd be a little remiss. We need Eric is a humble man, but two things: you were the first African American head football coach in Amarillo history. Okay. Did that sit with you? Is that just? Do you just brush that aside? How do you handle that stature?
Oh no, that it was a mantle that I was fortunate to wear. My mom was the first girls track coach to start Palo Duro's track program back in '74, and when you look at the history of high school football in Amarillo, when Carver's closed down. They played in the Prairie View League. They
Carver
had,
Dragons, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Dragon
sir.
for life.
They had black head coach, and since then there hadn't been a head coach in
That's
Amarillo who had been African American. And when I went to Dallas, in the suburban areas surrounding the Metroplex, there were a ton of black head coaches, and so I always made the joke that. The United States had Obama before Palo Duro had a black head coach, but it was great. It was great to be able to be the first African American head coach in Amarillo, and hopefully I won't be the last. We always joke in the black community that you better do a good job when you get an opportunity, or you're gonna screw it up for everybody that's trying to do the job after you. So that's just been my deal, that I wanted to do a good job representing the race of people who hadn't always been given the same opportunities as other races, and I wanted to do a job where other men who looked like me would have an opportunity after me because of the job that I did when I had the opportunity. And so, I grew up in a household where my dad always talked to me about the different opportunities for black coaches and black quarterbacks. When I grew up, there weren't a ton of black quarterbacks playing in the NFL, and how those men face a lot of adversity, and some of them get hate letters, and some
Doug
of them,
Williams, for instance. Yeah.
So, I grew up with a dad who was rich in black history and talked to us a lot about his experiences growing up in the 50s and the 60s, and so dealing with segregation and so on and so forth. So being the first African-American head coach post-segregation is something that I never take lightly. It's something that I'm proud of, because I know that I represent a generation of people who hadn't always had opportunities like the opportunity that I have, and a lot of them are cheering me on and pushing me forward, because I actually have an opportunity to represent a race of people who hadn't always had these opportunities in America, in Texas, in the Panhandle, and so it's really cool.
I appreciate you sharing that, and you're right. We need to give Carver that love too. I mean, those are great coaches, and
Yes, sir.
and what they accomplished was amazing. So.
Ready to get in the game? Kids Inc. has officially opened late fall sports registration. Sign up now for boys basketball, fall indoor soccer, or fall volleyball. Don't miss out. Register today and let's play. Register now at kidsinc.org/play. That's KIDSINC.org/play.
Also, we kind of breezed over it, and I know you're right. You haven't played a district game yet, but what did it mean for the program, to knock off all three city schools this year?
Man, it was awesome. It was cool. That was our goal when we first got here. Deion Sanders has always been one of my role models.
Okay.
Been one of them. And people don't like the way that Deion Sanders wins. And I always laugh at that. I say, do you understand how hard it is to win? Like all of the preparation that goes into a game and goes into summer workouts and goes into off seasons. And some people don't think that Deion is humble enough when he wins. And so I always celebrate wins because it's hard to do. I mean, it's not guaranteed, and some people don't like the way that I win. I've heard, you win and you celebrate too much. Well, I'm excited for our kids because when we got to Amarillo, we couldn't beat Amarillo High. We didn't beat Tascosa. We didn't beat Cap Rock. We didn't beat any inner city schools.
Fair enough.
And so it was our first goal when I got to PD. That was our goal. We wanted to be the best team in the city, and I'm always really public with our goals so I can hold our kids and myself and our staff accountable for our goals. And that was our first goal. We want to become the best team in Amarillo. And the only way that we could do that was to beat all three of the schools in Amarillo. And there was a time when I got to Amarillo, I was told you shouldn't put some certain schools on your schedule. Don't play them. And I said, no way. We've got to play the inner city rivalry schools. We've got to play those people. Win, lose, or draw. It's going to help us get better and better. And so we kept playing them and we kept playing them and we took our lumps and we took our losses and we licked our wounds and we kept going back to the drawing board. And so it felt really good this year to get that opening win versus Tascosa. That was paramount for us. And then beating Cap Rock was big for us as well. And then Amarillo High has been the storied program in Amarillo going back to the legendary Coach Dipple. That's who I played against when I was at Palo Duro, was Coach Dipple. And I think he won his 300th game versus us at Palo Duro my either junior or senior year. I remember that. It was a big deal that he won his 300th game. And so to beat Amarillo High and Tascosa and Cap Rock all in one season was big. It's something that hadn't happened since Coach Parr was at Palo Duro. And so, that makes us proud. I've heard so many people from the north side excited about it. I'm not on social media a ton, but my wife keeps me posted how excited people are for the program and for what we've done and what we've accomplished and what we can do going forward. So it was a big deal. We're excited about it.
Yeah, it's got everybody a buzz. I mean, that was huge.
Why in the world would you not be excited about creating a winning culture?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy one. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I want them to win, but they've got all the money in the world and they still can't get it done.
Yes, sir.
And so it's hard. I grew up in Dumas, and in the '60s, back-to-back state championships. Great teams, and then there was a big lull, and took a long time for Dumas to get back on track to win. On a regular basis, it's hard to build a winning culture. It's just hard.
Yes, sir.
For any school, doesn't matter what the makeup of the school is, it's hard. And coaches are either going to get fired or they're going to retire. Those are usually the two options. And so you're putting your everything on the line, and you're putting your assistant coaches on the line every time you take one of those jobs. And then this is where I'm going to go with you, because I know enough about you, Eric, is you're all about family.
Yes, sir.
It's all about your family, and then building a family beyond that with this culture that you're building. And I respect it. I have a tremendous amount of respect for it, because I know with you, everything starts with your household and your kids and your family. I know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's absolutely true. Last week we played the homecoming game, and my daughter plays volleyball at Alcorn State. She's a freshman down there.
Yeah, congrats on that.
I always joke and say she's the biggest recruit to town since Steve Air McNair. Well, they're playing down in Tarleton on Saturday morning, so somebody gets to bed at 1 o'clock, Coach Mims, and is up at 4 o'clock to drive his family to Tarleton State University in Stevensville, so we can be there for her 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock game.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
Tomorrow,
great week for a bye week.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow we're driving down to Houston because she plays at Texas Southern in Prairie View. So we get the opportunity to see her play, and so we'll put some miles on the cars and drive out there. But you're right, family is first with us. I missed parts of practice to see my son play middle school ball. They were
bet.
playing at 4:45. It was that important to me. I don't necessarily like how our middle school games are scheduled at 4:45. It's hard for the high school coaches to get down there and see them, but it was important enough for me that my son got to see his dad at the games. So I would cut out of practice to make sure I get to see at least the second half because family. I always say it.
Our staff
family, and
staff
football.
doesn't miss ball games.
That's right.
You know,
That's good.
Tasha's there at her kids'
good.
games.
Hey, speaking of
Craig,
Tasha,
Craig goes to his kids' games. We do, and that's been the history here. You're not gonna miss your kid's game. We'll cover.
That's big.
But
I love
it's
that.
important for that kid to see those photos.
that had to mean the world to you when you guys walked in that gym, though, in Stephenville.
Yeah.
To see her family there.
Yeah.
I
it
would
was-
think
it
that
was
would mean
awesome.
the world to her.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think I just hugged her for about 3 or 4 minutes after the game. You know, I always try to bribe her, if you can come back and go to Amarillo College, I'll buy you an apartment. You don't have to stay with us. You can just come back to Texas from Mississippi. And she's like, no, Dad. I'm not coming home.
not coming
She's going to
home.
stay
Yeah.
out there in Mississippi.
Speaking of Tasha, she has an amazing son, Malik.
Yes.
And I had a chance to talk to him this morning, actually. So I said, well, hey, if you had a question for, Coach Mims, what would it be? And then, he did the politically correct thing. Says, well, first of all, you got to say congratulations, on winning the city, the unofficial city title. And I said, all right, but if you're getting real with him, what would you ask him? He goes, oh, yeah, right away. He comes up with this. And are you ready? Would you take this Palo Duro team or your last Duncanville team?
That's a great question. I'll say this. Both of these teams are filled with talent, and both of them are amazing. I would take my Palo Duro team because I'm the head coach. At Duncanville, I was just the offensive coordinator, and I like to live in the present. I have great memories of the past, and I have great memories of being at Duncanville, coach some amazing kids, some All-Americans, kids that are playing big-time Power 5, Power 4 football right now on television every weekend. But this was my vision for Palo Duro football, and this is where my heart always was, and this is where I want to come back and build a program. So I would definitely take my guys here at Palo Duro because I don't know what we can become or who we're going to end up being. That story is already written, so it's a great history lesson. But this group of guys that I have the opportunity to pour into now, we don't know what the end is going to be. So I'm going to just ride this journey out and not go back into the past and see and know how that story ends. It didn't end with a state championship. I wish it would have.
When Malik's watching this, he's gonna smile. Okay, that's the answer he wanted. Okay,
Yes, sir.
it was
Yes, sir.
on. So
Well, it's been fun to watch. I'm proud for you.
yeah,
I'm just so proud for you.
Thank you.
I knew that this was a big deal for you to take a chance to come back. It's hard to come back to your hometown because first off, everybody knows you,
Yeah.
and then the stakes are high.
Yes, they are.
And if things don't go so well, it's what my dad was always saying. They're gonna run you out of town.
Yes, sir.
And so, just the way you go about things, and again, anybody that knows me, Lance asked the question on our last podcast: if the world was ending tomorrow, and you're having your last meal tonight, what does that look like? And my answer to him was, I really don't care what we're eating as long as my family's at that table, and that's
awesome.
you, and that's
awesome.
you,
yeah.
and I know that about you, and
Yes,
so.
sir.
Folks that have that mindset, those are my kind of folks. And so it makes me proud for you, makes me proud for school district. It's good for Amarillo to have some of our folks come home and get to do that because that's what we ought to be doing is grooming our kids. We need them here. We need them staying here as much as possible, and we need to create jobs for them and provide opportunities for them. And, WT and Amarillo College are trying to do that. They're trying to, fix it where we can educate kiddos and keep them here. But it all starts down in the lower school districts, in elementary and junior high and high schools, and they got to have good role models. And those kids at Palo Duro got a good one right there.
Oh yeah. Hey, I know you live in the now, but appease us with this one. What's your favorite moment, whether it was a player, coach, whatever? Your favorite moment on a football field, though. What happened? What happened when a really good day for Eric Mims? Maybe as a player, okay?
Favorite moment on a football field thus far would have been the first state championship that we played in. Like I mentioned, my oldest son was a member of that team, played receiver, and was an elite punt returner. Was special team district player of the year, and so I think that was cool. Before the season started, when I was named offensive coordinator, I went and I set up all my game planning sheets on my Excel sheet, and this is a true story. Set up all of my game plan sheets, and I go in and I go round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. These are all tabs on the bottom. And on round 6, I labeled it state championship. And this would have been in June or July. I don't remember the exact date, but I put, you said that you were going to play in the state championship as the first year as offensive coordinator. Congratulations. Give God all the glory. And so I kind of forgot that I put that there, and we were going to game plan for the state championship, and I go to that tab because I already had all the tabs laid out, and I read that and just started praising God and said, man, first year OC, opportunity to play in the state championship. We ended up falling short on a Hail Mary. They scored on the first play of the game and the last play of the game, North Shore did, and beat us. So, that close to being a state champion. And then the second year, made it back to the state championship, and our quarterback ended up tearing his ACL versus Rockwall in the 5th round. But, yeah, those state championships, they hold a great place in my heart and in my mind. And
I love that. Coaching in Jerry's world, man.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question.
There's 50,000 people there. You're like, what in the world? This is amazing.
I've been to the state championship games, and talk to me a little bit about the difference coaching in the Metroplex and the Panhandle, because it's a numbers game. And why has the Panhandle and I'm going to say 4A, 5A, 6A, why have we had such a difficult time over the years moving far down the road in football? Is it a numbers game when you get down to those big metropolitan areas? Is there an advantage there?
Number one, I love West Texas. I love the Panhandle. But the competition that you're playing week in and week out in the DFW is unreal.
Yep.
I served as the recruiting coordinator at Skyline in Duncanville, and just the number of Division I kids and high-end Division II kids that we put out on a yearly basis was crazy. I mean, the talent pool is crazy. And I think it may be because you have 10 to 14 million people living in a concentrated area compared to a lot of our talent out here is spread out and they go to multiple schools. I would say coaching at Duncanville, it is a 4,500 student body. And so our largest school here is Tascosa with 2,100. So let's combine some of our schools and let's take some of our best talent and let's put that all on one team. And now you're able to compete with those schools. Allen is 7,000 students. And so when you have Kyler Murray with 6,000 other students and they are well-to-do families and their parents have degrees and they're professionals and they can choose where they want to live, and that's a lot of what goes on out in the Metroplex.
Are you talking about recruiting?
Well, I would never talk about recruiting, but the parents in the Metroplex choose where they want to live. They can live wherever
and where they
like
want to work,
live and where they want to
and
work.
those workplaces can bring them in,
and they do. And but
interesting.
But the talent, it's insane. Like I've played against Kyler Murray. I've played against Myles Garrett. I've played against Jackson Smith and Jigba. We've played against I've coached guys that are NFL rosters now, going back to Skyline. My head coach's son, Reginald Samples, my first year there, his son Rashad was an All-American, and now he's the assistant head coach at the University of Oregon. And so the amount of talent that's out there and the size and the speed of the game is amazing. And that's for the top end schools. Some of the lower end schools we definitely could go and compete with. This summer, we had a chance to go play 7-on-7 out in the Metroplex, and we played against Tyler John Tyler. We went out and scrimmaged Lancaster. One of my best friends in coaching is the head coach at Lancaster, and I mean, our kids competed well versus Lancaster, and they were shocked that we had that type of talent out here in the Panhandle because when they think Panhandle, they don't think that we have the kids that can run and that can play at that level. And our kids went out and competed extremely well versus them. But just those top-end schools, those elite schools are elite at every position on the field. The offensive line, the defensive line, and the kicking game, they're elite. And so that's where the biggest difference
I appreciate
is.
that because it's just like me sitting here with my dad. This is the exact conversation my dad would have had with me if I would have asked him that question. It's just a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for us to realize that unless you're in it.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah, the
having been there,
Yep.
you've seen it
Seen it.
firsthand.
Talent
Firsthand.
pool, yeah,
Talent
yeah.
pool is so different.
It's
It's
insane.
so
yeah.
different.
1940, just for the record, is the last state football championship AISD has won.
Wow.
So it's getting close to the 100-year mark.
It
you
is
know.
getting close.
But you've lived both sides, so you
Mhm.
know. I mean, as they always say, the Jimmy and the Joes, you got to have some
Yes,
of
sir.
those guys.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. So
They make a big difference, man.
Yeah.
And those kids start training a lot earlier than our kids too. You know, they start going to personal trainers in the 3rd and 4th grade. Y'all know
Yeah.
Robert Hall. He played quarterback at Texas Tech.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a chance to work with the legendary Robert Hall, state champion
Yeah.
for Dallas Carter.
yeah.
And he coached quarterbacks for us at Duncanville, and he does his own training. I mean, he's a
trainer type.
trainer. And so on weekends, he's out training quarterbacks, and he's like, Mims, I train quarterbacks as young as 1st grade.
Wow.
And so we're talking about kids who have been
Do you like
Highland
that?
Park have been training. They want to be quarterbacks when they grow up. They're training offensive linemen in 2nd and 3rd grade how to properly block and footwork. And
Footwork, yeah.
our kids are just playing, and those
Yeah.
kids are out there
Yeah.
training. Because
Are you okay with that though? If that's what you want to do?
I like it. I don't necessarily believe in year-round sport-specific kids only playing one sport. I think kids need to play whatever they want to play and be multi-sport athletes. But there's something to training. Steph Curry shoots a basketball probably 365 days a year. That's why he's elite at it. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
an
for sure.
accident. He just doesn't walk in the gym and he can shoot a ball. So if we're not training our kids and if we think that they're just going to be naturally talented and that they're just going to walk out there on pure God-given ability, then we won't ever have a chance. We've got to enhance that talent. We've got to refine it. We've got to work the techniques and the fundamentals of it all the time for them to be able to play and compete against those type of kids, because those kids leave practice and go practice again. Those kids leave summer workouts and go to additional summer workouts. Those kids, I mean, their work ethics are crazy.
Yeah. Quick example, Jimmy, is KJ Thomas, the guy from young man from Randall, who's now at the University of Texas El Paso. Eric, he told me he tries to get up 1,000 shots a day, and that's getting up at 5:30. Now he has some benefit. His dad, they built a gym at the house, so like you said, but that happens, but still committed to put up 1,000 shots a day. So we see him in a high school game dropping 40. It's because of
Not an accident.
Yeah, it's not an accident.
He's taking that shot
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah,
He's
I've
done that
already done
before.
that for
Yeah.
all day.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Well, tell Miss Self thanks for letting me come over.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
appreciate
yes.
you. Yeah.
She's done a great job at Palo Duro. She came over and came from elementary and came over to Palo Duro and has been a great asset. The people at PD are great. The teachers are amazing. Coaching staff is amazing. And it's been a blessing to be back at home.
Well, it's definitely in her DNA. Mom and Dad both.
Oh, yeah.
Mom and
Oh,
Dad
yeah.
both been there, so it's definitely in her
Coaching's
DNA.
in your DNA. You know what I mean?
it is.
It's a great thing. So yeah.
I appreciate you being here today.
Yes, hey, let me say something about my coaches. I really didn't get to talk about
Yeah,
those guys.
you bet.
I think I have the best staff around, man. We've got several alumni on my staff. Of course, everyone knows Ziggy Hood, but we've got another 4 or 5 alumni, guys that came back to Amarillo and came back to Palo Duro and that pour into these young men. Man, our staff works their butts off. We're the first people on campus, the last people to leave. Long days, weekends, and man, I'm the figurehead for everything that happens at Palo Duro, but without those guys that are standing behind me and supporting me and that are getting the job done, then we wouldn't be where we are. I got named the coach of the week for the first week, and I told them we got named coach of the week. It's my name that's on it, but those guys work just as hard as me. They make the sacrifices like I have to make, and they're there all the time. And so offensive staff is amazing. Defensive staff is amazing. And those guys, appreciate them. To their wives and families, thank you for allowing them to do this profession because, I mean, we spend more time with our athletes than we spend with our own kids for the season and for, heck, almost the whole school year. And so, man, I've got a great staff. And I remember when I got to PD, Coach Thiessen said, it's going to take you about 3 or 4 years to get a staff that you really like. I'm going, no way it can take that long. And he hit it on the head. Like, this is my favorite staff. These guys are great. They know their position. They know their craft. They work with them. And I think you can see it on the field how our play has been enriched because our coaching has been enriched. And we have people that know the game, that have played the game on the highest level. My defensive coordinator, Danny Snyder, played SEC football. Ziggy Hood played in the NFL. Joe Harthorne, my offensive coordinator, played Division I football. Deshaun Carter-Mays played college football. And so, you know, we've got guys on our staff that have played college football and that have been in the trenches and that have you know, won, have lost, who've had good times, bad times. And so those experiences and getting to share those back with our kids, man, it's awesome. And I think our staff is doing a great job. I love those guys. I appreciate them for everything that they do. And they're the reason that we're great. It can't just be the head coach. It's the people that support the head coach. And so those guys help me enrich these kids' lives. They help me impact those kids. They help me. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that happens with our program is because of those guys, and so I appreciate them. They work hard, and we're seeing the result of our labors.
Lance has heard me say the same thing about our staff. Right there.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I can't put this together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody has their craft. You got to let them do it.
Yes.
Stay out of their way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, you know, give yourself a little credit for hiring these guys.
Yes,
you know what I
sir.
mean? And then you believe in letting them coach. You can tell.
Got to.
You know that. Yeah.
Got to.
Yeah. You've been in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's great. So.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, that'll do it. Thanks, Eric. Wonderful conversation, man. Learned a lot today. You see his passion. That's one thing the Dons are playing with in 2024. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion.
Yeah.
And I saw that as early as that West Plains scrimmage. I was like, oh my. These guys are totally fired up.
We love
Now
football.
I have to pick these games. I got to tell you honestly, I thought they didn't have a chance against Tascosa. Second half was amazing. Then I'm like, okay, are they for real? And then they do Amarillo High, and I'm like, okay. So I'm picking you to win every district game.
Man.
Okay, just know
I'm
that.
picking us to win them. We're going to go prepare hard.
Yeah. No,
And
you guys
we're
play
gonna go
hard.
prepare hard.
You guys answer
play
the bell
well.
this year in the second half. You know what I mean? You're not backing off of anything.
That's our coaches. They go in and they make great second half adjustments. You know, UIL's allowed us to have technology in the press
Did
box
you know
at
that this year?
halftime.
Yeah. Has that
And
helped?
So it has. We've gone back and looked at stuff and said, okay, this is what they're doing. And our coaches make great halftime adjustments, and we communicate well with our players. Our players are smart. They're receptive. They understand what we're trying to accomplish, and our kids have stuck together and been resilient. You know, we've been down in the first half versus Canyon versus Tascosa, and then we've taken leads. We didn't finish versus Canyon had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter, and all 3 units had an opportunity to win, and none of the 3 units made the play. But it's been awesome.
Caprock, your defense had to
they did.
shut them down in the
did.
zone. You know, I mean, they did a great job. So it's a lot of fun. So
Yep.
all right, hey Eric, as we said, man, thank you so much. This is a very one of my faves so far. So. Jimmy, you got anything else to add?
No, just grateful for your time.
All right.
I appreciate y'all
Curious
for having
4, are you ready? Big dogs or little dogs?
me. I don't like dogs, so I definitely would say big dogs because I don't like little dogs at all. They got this chip on their shoulder. Big dogs.
But that's how you
for sure.
play football, with the chip, man. Yeah.
Big dogs.
Okay, I love that. Okay. Text messages or phone calls?
Depends on who it is.
Okay.
But I would go with text messages. That's the easy way of communicating.
Jimmy already answered that question, so it's no good if anybody says food, but you get the 911, you know, the world's ending tonight or tomorrow. what's going to be Eric's last meal? What's going to be your meal? What do you have to eat?
I'm going out with a medium rare ribeye and a side of ribs.
Are you cooking it, or is somebody you know that's really talented?
I'm cooking the ribs.
Okay,
The
all right.
ribeye I need from Elite Chef, great steakhouse.
Okay.
With perfect blend of salt and pepper.
Okay, I love that. That is as
That's
detailed as
good.
we've ever had.
And I want some of those ribs.
Yeah. Hey,
I do too. Yeah.
I'm pretty good.
Beef or pork?
I'm pretty good on the
Beef or
rib.
pork ribs?
Pork.
There you go.
Hey,
Yes.
and
Yeah, I
finally,
definitely want some.
pork. You got to go pork. Yeah. And finally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is Eric Mims? With 10 being the best at keeping a secret.
10.
Okay.
I've got a couple that people have said, "Hey, you can't tell anybody." So I would probably say 10. My wife would say 0. That's because she doesn't know the ones that are 10s.
There you go. I love that answer. All right.
That's good.
Hey, good stuff today. Thanks for joining us on the Fieldhouse Podcast. We can't thank you enough for joining us. And if you have guests that you would like us to interview, love visiting with you guys in the public. And thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.